Hey guys, Colby here. Welcome back to another Raid Challenge video. Today, I'm not alone. I have my friend Ash here to make a video with me. Ash, welcome to the channel once again. It's been a long time and we need to make these collabs more frequent. How are you doing, man?
Dude, it's been too long, man. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, man. Jude, what do you think of this new dungeon?
This new dungeon has been all the talk and everybody has been going crazy about how difficult it is, about the champions that you need, sharing screenshots, sharing strategies over on Reddit. I see them in the Discord channels, which I frequent in. Everybody's talking about it, and this should be the game, right? Everybody should be this excited more often. That's what gets players coming back to the game. That's what gets players excited. That's when they play more the game and don't get disappointed by all the other stuff, right? In this video, what are we talking about? We're talking about the top champions we think have shown their real value. They got their value, increased just because of their kits and how easy it is for them to be fit into a team and just make it work.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and I totally agree with you, by the way. Like I find it exciting when something's difficult. I guess I'm a weirdo in that regard, but I also have to like not to suck up to the host, but I always have to like refresh your channel and be like, has Cold Brew come up with any strategies yet? But yeah, anyway, I do like I like the dungeon because it's different, and it is difficult, but that also makes it fun in some ways.
Yeah, it's still fun thinking of all those strategies and coming up with teams, and I've definitely moved a lot of gear around, and good thing we have the test server because that's where I spend most of my time, and silver
Ooh,
on the test server since it's
rubbing it
not my
in.
action, because it's I have to try and find those better champions for the majority of players. And
Yes.
starting out this list of champions, I'm gonna go ahead and call out Muckstalker as the MVP of the low
You took
budget
him.
teams out there. And this guy is fortunately the best one that the majority of players will be able to get. You made a dedicated video the other day about this guy, and if you want to go ahead and talk about why you think he's so good.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Muckstalker, man. He's campaign farmable stage 11, I think, and whatever the lizard level is. And
Yeah, yeah.
so everybody can get him. Everybody can get him. A little RNG, you might have to waste, 100 auto battles, but you'll get it. And once
Worth
you have
it.
your hands on him, the first nice thing about him is because this boss hits so freaking hard, Cold Brew, is that he's an HP based rare, because rares are obviously very squishy, but he has 20k plus HP, so that's a good start. And then on his A2, I mean, he has a 2-turn sleep. It is conditional. They can't have any active buffs, but guess what? The Sand Devil never has any active buffs, so we're
Yeah,
good. We're
yeah.
good to go. So he's got a 2-turn sleep on a 2-turn cooldown when booked. So Muckstalker is the MVP, man. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he was basically made for this dungeon. I don't know if they forgot about him. Like sometimes I think they forget that they have some of these champions made since,
They
5
forgot
years
about
ago.
Nogdar. They forgot about Nogdar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nogdar was the he went into more dungeon battles in those 2 hours he was bugged than he was ever
Get his
used
time in the
by
time in
anybody.
the
Yeah.
sun, man. Yeah. But
uh,
yeah, Muckstalker's awesome though. I mean, like I'm so happy we have a rare who's actually really not kind of good on only the bottom dungeons, but good throughout the entire dungeon. That's another good thing about him, right? Is like you can run this dude. You actually, you on my channel, we were just talking about him, and you said you're going to be using him on stage 24. And like that speaks volumes about this rare champion. You can use him in the most end game of end game content, and he's totally free campaign farmable.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned it on our other collab is because that 2-turn sleep really allows you to just get some breathing room in between the boss. Because if you apply a 1-turn sleep, it's not just the 5 hits that you need to do on those higher stages. It's also the fact that you're fighting against the boss's turn meter. So if the boss gets a full turn, even if you haven't done those 5 hits, he'll get a turn and hit you back. But with a 2-turn sleep, he's asleep for 1 more whole turn. So your champions will have the time to get in their attack and do what they're supposed to, either debuffs or just straight up damage. So I also just think that in the future, we might get more champions with a 2-turn sleep debuff that apply it at a shorter cooldown just because of this new dungeon.
Absolutely agree. I would not be shocked to see some a bunch of sleep like fusions in the future or whatever, you know? You got me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So sorry about
Okay.
that.
Nah, no
Somehow I
worries.
lost my I lost my the image I had of all the champions. Right.
Oh, okay, got you. All right. Do you want to pick the next one, or you want to pick it?
Uh I'll go with the next one since I just made you talk about Mugstalker.
Sounds good.
Um So in terms of rares, I don't think there's many rares that you can use in this dungeon, unfortunately, other than Mugstalker, because of the difficulty of this dungeon, which is more for the mid going into late and end game players who will push for the higher difficulties and are looking for more more unique kits than what the rares have. One rare that you can think of if you're really having issues with the sleep debuff on the force stages is Crimson Slayer, who is a spirit attack-based champion with a sleep debuff on the A1. It's not a guaranteed sleep debuff. It is a chance at 50% when fully booked out, but it is a triple hitting attack, so you will have a better chance at landing it. I would only say use this champion if you really have issues with those 4 stages and Mugstalker is just not cutting it with the weak hits and you're just really having a hard time. Go with Crimson Slayer and just lock out his A2 and A3 since those are just taking space and not allowing Crimson Slayer to do what she's supposed to do, which is just being the sleep champion.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. It's a good spirit affinity option for people. I would say though that like he's not like a goat in the stage at all, but I would say like Apothecary is I mean, he's obviously one of the best rares anyway, but like it's nice to have the Terminator boost to increase speed and that great heal that can be critical on the A2, just to heal up and restore that max HP when you can. Or early stages, you know. I'm not gonna say that he's the best or anything, but serviceable champion in the dungeon.
Yeah, with the early stages, it's good that you can get away with using champions like Apothecary, even though they've got triple hitting attacks. These champions can still be used because of the higher count needed of attacks compared to
Yeah.
stage 16 to 25, I believe, where you need only 5 hits to wake up the boss. With the lower stages, you can get away with Apothecary. You need his speed boosting, speed buff, and the big heal, which can be critical. This is just amazing. So overall, these champions can still be fit into your team, and don't be too worried about their multiple hits. Just worry about that after you pass a specific
Like
stage.
stage 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So going into the epics, because I don't want to make this video all about the rares. I think
Yeah.
some of the epics really have power in this
Mhm.
dungeon, and specifically, it's the Geomancer show, right?
Always.
That's what I think of this. I think of this like the Geomancer show. This game has Geomancer just taking on dungeon after dungeon after dungeon, the clown boss, the Hydra. He's amazing.
Iron
He's
Twins, yeah.
amazing.
You name it. Yeah.
I'm just gonna ask you, how many Geomancers do you have? Do you have more than one maxed out
I have
currently?
2. I have 2. You?
This is what the game makes us. It makes
I
us
know, right?
level up multiples of this champion
How
just
many do you
because
have?
of how
Like 10?
I have 3,
Yeah.
although
3?
to be honest, I only use 2 of them right now.
Okay.
So the third one was a bit of a rush decision. I thought, okay, I'll make three keys on the Hydra. I'll use 1 for
Yeah.
each, but I didn't need the third one.
Yeah, same. I have one basically speed tuned for my Iron Twins team, and then the
That's
other one I
good,
use
yeah.
in Hydra, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call.
He's a beast, of course.
Yeah,
But does he
this
scale very well in the like later stages?
for this dungeon.
For
The th-
yeah, for Sand Devils. The only reason I asked that is like because I saw another video, a content creator that said he was not that good in like stage 25.
um
I have not tried him.
the team that I saw with Geomancer is a double Yumiko. It was a double Yumiko team with Geomancer, which basically resets the cooldown all the time for
Oh
Geomancer
my
for his
god.
A3. So he just
Yeah.
uses that skill over and over. He keeps on dying because his max HP is at 0. But you have a reviver in there or a revive on death, and that gets him back up. He just is there, just lands the HP burn, waits to get hit. The hit on effect from the HP burn applies, and basically you have a zombie type
Oh my
geomancer
god.
for this
That's
dungeon, but it
crazy.
does work on 25.
Cool,
And
cool.
if you have that kind of reset capabilities, you can actually go with this one.
Awesome, man. Dude, I want to give a shout. I think my number one epic would be Skytouch, man. We saw her in the advertisements or whatever they put out on the official raid channel, and for good reason, because she's got the revive on death. She's an epic who has the revive on death. There's only a few of them, and she has the block. I mean, well, block plus doesn't really matter, but she has the heals, right? She has the heals and the revive on death, and to me, maybe the best epic in the dungeon, best support epic in the dungeon, in my opinion.
See, I
You don't like her.
understand.
You don't like
I
her?
understand it, but the fear that she places on herself, the fear, I see that it's an issue with, let's say you get the fear and then you
Mhm.
can't do your A2 skill. You're basically messing up the dungeon. That's why I don't like her. I've seen videos on her. I understand why she's so good. Like a cleanse, block debuffs, revive on death, 2-turn
Yeah.
duration, 4-turn cooldown. Everything sounds so good. It's just I can't see myself using it just because of that chance.
But
Maybe, maybe
pair her with like Doom Priest or something, man. Then you're
that's right.
golden, right? You're golden. That's the team that I was kind of messing around with, those two. But I hear you. There's nothing more annoying than having a champion that puts fear on themselves. I totally get it.
What about Skyto Shaman with a Shamael in a sleep set? I don't know. I'll have to think about it because Shamael
Yeah,
removes
you let me
fears,
know if you
right?
have any. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
have to think about it.
But
It's these times that I have ideas in my head. I thought, does this work? Should I try this? Maybe.
yeah, so I like Sky. So you're not as high in Sky Touch as I am, but would you put her in like your top 5 or 10
Yeah, yeah.
epics or
Top
no?
top top
Okay.
five. You kind of have to go
Oh,
top
okay. All
five
right.
because it's
All
not
right.
so many champions that have this kit
Her and
available. And
Lightsworn have revive on death. Am I missing any for epics?
um, I think there's one more. It's the one used for Bommel. It's a Bommel strategy. I think forgot her name. It's the let me find it. Crimson Helm, I believe, has revive
Oh,
and
you're
death and increased
right.
defense.
You are
Yes,
right.
yes. There it
Okay.
is.
I thought there
Crimson
was a
Helm.
third. There it is. Yep.
Yeah. I saw her, but I didn't think about using her because she doesn't have the cleanse. But it is a revive and death. It is something
Yeah.
that you have available in there. So she could be at the same position as Lightsworn, I guess, just because of the difficulty of this dungeon as you go up and up in stages. That first initial burst, the swarm attack, whatever it's called, by the Sand Devil boss, that is what just kills off your team. There's no champion of mine that survived it. I don't think. I don't think without anything special going on. No
It's
champion
like
survived it.
160k damage or
It's
something. That's
it
without
it
the crits.
Yeah, yeah, you can also get crit, so there's no
Yeah.
way of handling that. So yeah, you have to go in with the revive and death. So those champions, anything that has a revive and death buff really goes up in value. And I would say that in here, I've also fit in God Security
Yes.
in my testing, not because she has a revive and death for the whole team, but she does have a revive and death for the leader. All right, so if you are unlucky for some whatever reason to have that, you can have your leader slot be the reviver, let's say
I love.
arbiter
Yeah.
as an example for those lower difficulties maybe. And then God Security will revive, will apply the revive on death on the leader slot, because if all your team will die, the revive on death will enable your healer to revive, resurrect everybody. Let's say arbiter heals them up as well with the turn meter boost. Everybody gets the turn, they recover a little bit, and you're good to go. Your sleep champion goes in. You make a rotation work because of God Security. She's got a heal on her own. She's got an extra healing added on top of her passive. She's got a revive on her own, which resets cooldowns. So that's good. Pairing it with other damage dealers or maybe a sleep champion, anything. Um, you know, anywhere I can fit God Security, I try to use her. I tried in
Yeah.
Hydra.
I
I
was
have
gonna
a
say,
soft
man.
spot for this champion,
Same. I
personally.
was gonna say you could really make the same case about Godseeker that you made about Geo in terms of a champion who just like you can basically use everywhere with great success. Hydra, Iron Twins, and now this dungeon as well. And she has that buff extension, which is so good. She's a really good, just an insanely good champion. She's one of the best epic supports, in my opinion, in the entire game.
And
And then Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to close off the epics if you don't mind, or if
Yep.
you had
Yeah,
somebody
sure, of
else in
course.
mind. I just have one epic that I want to mention that everybody has access to, although it's kind of hard to
I know who
do
you're
through
talking
the
about.
referral
Yeah,
program.
want to
Is
be
that
my
what you
friend,
mean?
man? Want to be my friend? I've never gotten a referral champion. Have you? Do you have them?
I only have
Yeah.
Jermasa. I only have
Okay.
Jermasa. I couldn't get the other one. It was so difficult to do it. Just make
Yeah.
more accounts by myself. I couldn't. I wouldn't feel right to get other people to do the work for me. So I
Yeah.
just got Jermasa. It was easier, level 10, and I thought, okay, Jermasa. I think she is worth a note here because of her revive that she has available plus turn meter boost. It's a 5-turn cooldown, but it's still there. She has a sleep on the A1 skill, and then she has a heal plus turn meter boost on the A2, and a passive which can actually decrease cooldowns of your skill. So it all fits together as something that is easily, well, not easily, accessible. It's accessible to everybody, and it's something that can help you out if the Sand Devil dungeon is something that you wanna, deep your toes in and just think, okay, can I? Should I? All right, what do I have available? Let me
Yeah.
check out the Cold Brew's video with Ash and see. Yeah, here she is,
No,
Jermasa.
I agree.
Try her
It's
out.
like she was built in some ways for this dungeon, if you're gonna have a use for her. So I totally agree. And then I guess the last epic I wanted to mention, I know we mentioned him earlier, but just to throw it out there is Light Swarm, right? I mean, we said
Right,
him, but
right.
it's noteworthy here that we're pointing out a lot of voids too, because
Mm,
they're affinity friendly, obviously. And this dungeon, the best thing is if you're gonna build a champion, especially specifically for this dungeon, I mean, you might as well have a void that you can use on every single floor, you know?
yeah, yeah. Voids really have power crept their way into those difficult dungeons. And Lightsworn is not an exception. That revive and that is what makes him shine here. He does have a multi-hitting attack on the A1, so that can be difficult later on with the sleep debuff. But the revive and death will help you push through. And let's get into the legendary, so we
Do
can
it.
talk about a little bit on that. I sent you a list of my thoughts on champions, but just out of all those, who do you 100% agree with? Let's say from the top five in terms of
Uh, okay.
they really shown their value in there. And
Well, yeah. I mean, who? That's a tough one, man. But it's hard not to go with like cardio. I think that
yeah,
cardio,
yeah,
or I would say Siffy, but even cardio, like he has the cleanse and the revive on death and the ally attack and some healing. I mean, like this guy does everything that you need. The revive on death. I mean, yeah, I think he's probably the best suited for this dungeon, like the most wanted champion for this dungeon personally. And that's who you have number one on your list too, I think. Is
yeah,
that your own personal list? Yeah.
yeah. It's my own
Okay.
personal list. It's not very strict. Like I
Yeah.
have the best thoughts about these
I
champions, and it's my best tier list or whatever
no, I
whatever.
know.
But
Yeah.
I think that for this specific dungeon, if I had to choose between, let's say, Sifi and Cardiel, I would go with Cardiel. Like if I had an
Yeah.
account, okay, and I could choose one champion to magically appear in that account, that would be Cardiel. And I don't even have him on my account, but he is
Oh, you
he's so
don't?
good. No, I
Well,
don't.
you
I
know
don't.
what? I'm jealous of your Acresia. You're jealous of my cardio, then, because I
Yeah.
I really want Acresia. My favorite champion on your list. Well, I don't want to move on from cardio yet, but you go ahead. You go ahead with yours.
And well, and the ally attack is all
Yes.
good. The buffs, the extra healing, the speed, aura. It's just amazing. He's just an amazing champion. Plus he's void. The majority of the champions in my list are
True.
void. It's unfortunate, but it's true that they are there because of that. The uh,
Okay.
the
Are you? Yeah.
the other one in my list, we're not gonna. I don't think we should even cover Sifi because of the obvious. Even
Yes.
Plium on their own video, we're actually using Sifi in every single one of
Using
their.
that A1. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the champions that Plium was using and thinking, okay, how did those guys do it? So I can try and think of ideas. And they were using Sifi in every single thing. I was like, oh, okay, that's an obvious MVP. But the one I didn't see, I believe I didn't see. So
No
Riho,
worries.
yeah, Riho. I
Yeah.
do have Riho. She was even featured in a guaranteed event a while ago. Can't remember how long ago, but she was. She was there available through I think 80 voids. Might have been 90, but even so, she's so good because of this skill right here, the
Yeah.
the pressure point skill, which applies 5
5.
different debuffs on the boss. And if the boss is asleep, that's the only chance you get to apply debuffs. The more you apply, the more damage you can do. And that is your only chance, basically, to apply the debuffs. And you gotta have them. You gotta have a champion that makes it count when that time comes. So Riho gets her spot in your team. You have a big cleanse here, plus block debuffs, plus a big heal. So
She's a
this
beast.
really becomes a
Yeah.
champion to utilize if you have those big hitters coming in.
Yeah, I was so lucky enough to pull her early. I get so lucky, you know, I didn't have to do the guaranteed event or whatever it was. But she's just insane. I mean, it's hard to say this about champion that I feel like everybody who owns her knows how good she is, but I almost feel like people don't talk about her as one of like the top champions out there. She's just such a good support. I mean, look at that A3. I mean, forget that. I mean, the A2 is great, passive's great, but just as a perfect body ability, to your point, man, that's a great heal, plus more for each debuff, plus the cleanse, plus block debuffs. I mean, good God, she's a beast of a champion.
Yeah, and the cooldown is 3 turns, so you can get
Yeah.
it back
Yeah.
up again very quickly. There's other champions that cleanse and block debuffs, but it's a 4-turn cooldown, 5-turn cooldown, and it's not what you're looking for the Sand Devil, because he's not forgiving. He's gonna get you, he's gonna kill you, and it's you're done. You're done if you don't
Yep.
have a solid healer and cleanser in there because of that decreased accuracy that the pulse applies on the A1. So which one's the
Yeah.
next one in the list that you
Yeah, man.
think we could cover?
I love Shagor, the Lizard Man, legendary champion. I'm
Oh.
using him as my debuffer. He's got sleep. He's got poisons. He's got damage, debuffs, and sleep. What more do you want, man? I love this champion. He's such a cool champ.
Well,
What?
if you can see my
Eh?
screen, well, I don't even have Shagor, so
Yeah. I'm
I want
sorry.
Shagor as a starter.
Yeah, dude.
I
He's
want Shagor as a
so
starter.
cool, man. He's a
He's
cool champion.
his kit makes so much sense, and I think he works best right now with a toxic set. So you put a toxic set on him and disable everything else, and just have him do his A1 skill, which is the sleep. You try and apply sleep, you try and apply the poisons. If the
And
poisons are
counterattack.
on from him, he does the counterattack, which is again a chance to sleep, and he becomes, MVP for that, because he'll do the sleep, and then your other champions will go in with their attacks and make a quick run available for you.
Yeah, man, what a great champ. I absolutely love him, and that's a good idea with the tox. I'm just using him straight up, like
Mm.
whatever, as everything, no skills on off. But I think that's a really cool idea, you know. And then have somebody like Rio as the debuffer on the team next to him, and he's just gonna keep the boss slept though the entire time.
Yeah, and I think the last one we can cover here, just to not go overboard in terms of the voids, just really talking about the voids. I want to close it off with a non-void champion. We talked
Okay.
about her a little bit
Yes,
on our other video on your channel. It's gonna be Mother Cybele, which
love her.
once again, after the Hydra, where she saw again, a little bit of rise up in terms of the ranks of champions because of her A1 skill for the
A1.
Hydras with the decreased
Yeah.
speed. She once again becomes so good because of the revive and death on a 3-turn cooldown, plus increased defense, plus the big 24% aura on speed for all champions. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even have her skills skilled up before the Sand Devils dungeon. And I
Oh,
and
okay.
I upgraded her because of this one, to actually
There
start
you go,
fitting her
man.
in my teams.
I use her in Hydra. I'm a big fan for all the reasons that you mentioned. You know, so I didn't go for the fusion of Mother Cybele,
Mm,
and I kind of thought she was just like all right when she came out as a fusion, and then I pulled her and I'm like, whoa, she's a beast. I think she's one of the fastest champions in the game too. 115, yeah, 115 base
115,
speed.
yeah.
What a
Wow,
beast of a champion.
one of the fastest ones for sure. Can't remember
Yeah.
who's the fastest one, but
Well,
she's
is
so
it
good.
maybe what's her face, the reviver from Dark Elf? Blind
Uh,
Seer? Blind Seer?
might be, but even so,
Blind Seer, Mother Cybele, and Siphi, I think they're all 115, 116.
oh, I can't remember that stuff, but yeah, she's so good. And another reason why this is so good on stage, Ash, on stage 25, you need 270 minimum speed to go before the boss. That is crazy. 270
Gross.
speed to get that, plus let's say you want to go for accuracy, So 600 accuracy, 275 speed, that's not your everyday account. It's
No,
it's
no.
more for the end game players out there. She helps around with this big aura, which is based on
Big
your
aura.
base speed. She'll go first, she'll apply the revive on death, and you're safe at least until you revive back up, and then you gotta think on how to build your team after that. I think this was the video for now. I think we should do something like this again in maybe a month or two, and think, okay, how has this evolved? How has the game evolved since then in terms of the Sand Devil? We'll have a look again at maybe the champions that rose up and just tore down our list of champions, and say, okay, Coldbrew, you were wrong. You were wrong. I'm better. I'm the best champion for this one. You should have tried me out when you had the chance.
Dude, it was a blast talking about Sand Devil's Necropolis and all the champions that we think are pretty good for it, man. But I
Yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
chatting Ray with you, man. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Check out Ash's video on his channel. I'll put down a link down below in the description. We talked about, again, the Sand Devils and the Necropolis since it's all the hype right now. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to me and Ash if you haven't already for whatever reason. And I'll see you guys soon. See ya.